misleading information and spin on EVs. Effectively, £20,000 off by waiting 12 months. Bargain. So there you go. Good news, depreciation, if you're an idiot. While I was on holiday, the BVRLA published a post, and it was the facts, their facts about EV myths. And in my opinion, it's all bullshit. And I replied, I don't often reply in LinkedIn to be fair, but I replied to them. And then this chap replied to me. I thought in all honesty, he was a bit like condescending, and he was asking me why depreciation is a bad thing. Well, depreciation, as I've said in many videos, is a very bad thing, because if a vehicle depreciates fast, it costs you more to run. The only people that it doesn't cost more to run are cash buyers. There's not very many cash buyers around, to be fair. If you buy an EV with cash and you've got it cheap and you run it and you throw it away when it breaks, then yeah, fair enough, it's probably cheap. As long as you can charge at home, then it's fairly cheap. But for the rest of you, depreciation is not a good thing. It's not a good thing for the first owner, because they lose a fortune. It's not a good thing for leasing companies, of which the BVRLA have many members, and they know because they've written to the government begging them to give used car subsidies. So they're telling you this on one hand, they're telling you as a private you can save £1,500 a year by buying an EV, but they're telling the government that the leasing companies are losing an average of £2,400 every time they dispose of an EV, and that they're losing millions because of EV residuals. So they've got that information off all their members, but they're putting out another release to private people saying how much you can save, because it's in their interest to get residual values of EVs up, so then they won't lose as much money. So I pointed this out to them, and this chap came back, and then he started being a bit obnoxious, telling me to calm down. Now, honestly, I was on holiday. I was sat by the pool. As I said to him, if I was any calmer, I'd be dead. And I answered him. And then he came back and said something else. And I answered him again. And he came back and said something else. And then what did he say? Calm down. Perhaps don't get angry or something. And again, I replied to him, so I'm not angry. I'm telling you the facts. And he was just, and then he came back and said something about pissing on, you'd have thought I'd pissed on your cornflakes. He was just kind of an obnoxious guy. But the funny thing is, the BVRLA then decided to put a note on saying that some of these posts go against our rules, and they stopped comments. They didn't answer me, they stopped comments. Now, if they'd have answered me, if I was wrong, they have read my answer. They can't say they hadn't seen it. They've read my answer. They didn't reply to it. Now, if I was wrong, they'd have gone, oh, Barrie Crampton, you're an idiot because this, and this, and pointed to stuff, but they didn't. Do you know what they did do? A couple of them checked out my LinkedIn profile to see who I was, and they just stopped comments. They didn't reply. I've got the comments that I sent, so I'll cut that in. But again, that's misinformation. They're saying you can save £1,500. What about the people who bought EVs before the government decided to chip in £1,500 to some of them, or £3,750? What about them? What about all the vehicles? What about all the other vehicles that were registered and bought before this government It's not a government grant. The government are giving taxpayers. It's not the government's money, it's the taxpayers' money. So it's people like me who they've taken tax off and they're giving my tax to help somebody buy a car that they can't afford because they're too dear and they depreciate too much. So they're taking my money. I'm trying to stop people buying them that they aren't suitable, that EVs aren't suitable for, and the government are taking money off me to give somebody else to buy one. You know, it just don't make sense. But then you've got other people that, in my opinion, I think should know better. And just let me preface this by saying, Parker's Guide. Now, over the years, the amount of people that have come to the garage with Parker's Guide and you're a bit on the pricey side with that, mate. Okay. If it's not for you, don't worry. Oh, I'm not saying it's not for me. I'd buy it at the right price. What are you thinking is the right price? Well, Parker's Guide said, let me stop you there, sir. Parker's Guide is £3. Cap, £1,700 a year. Glasses Guide, so much. Do you think we'd be paying Cap and Glasses Guide thousands of pounds a year if we could just go to the newsagents every month and get a Parker's Guide for £3? What are you thinking? And you could see. Okay, mate, what's your best price then? Parker's Guide. The only thing that was good for, when it was thin, used to be for like wedging your table or your desk, stopping your desk from rocking. That's about it. But it's been going on for many years, so who am I to call it? And I do notice, I'm sure I've followed this guy for years on Twitter. Keith Adams, he, him, editor, Parker's Co, Bow Media Group, UK, Blackpool College of FE. Now, I went to Blackpool College. He don't live too far from me. So who knows, he might come round and give me a good hiding. He doesn't live too far from me, but that, I'm afraid, is where our similarities end. He has a bit of a look of Jack Nicholson. So let's see what he has to say. So he's the editor at parkers.co.uk. Car prices are falling, but the headlines don't tell the whole story. Right now we're seeing EV price cuts across the board as the price war 2025 ramps up. As we get towards the end of the year, it'll ramp up even more. That looks like good news. In brackets, and it is. So the EV price cuts are ramping up. That looks like good news, and it is. But there are three things. Who's it good news for, Keith? But there are three things every car buyer should keep in mind. One, deals aren't permanent. Some of these are tactical cuts to shift stock. Don't assume the same offer will be there in 3 months. It'll be cheaper in 3 months. You see? Let me tell you a story. Okay. So, I think it was July. When would it be? It'd be something like July. Oh gosh, there were Opel Asconas. S, I think it was S. So it'll be July 78. The new plate came out August the 1st then. So we got a phone call from our zone manager. And at the time, there was a special offer, a bonus for registering Opel Asconas. And I think it was £600. So on the last day of the month, I think we must have registered about 4, because £600 those days was a lot of money. A lot of money off a car. So you would be able to say, if somebody came in for a new plate, you'd be able to say, well, yeah, you can have the one with the new plate, or you can have this one for £300 less, or whatever. And £300 was a lot of money, and they'd probably buy it. So you'd make £300 more if you pre-registered it. And we could only get so many cars anyway. You know, it's not like these days where you could just get as many cars as you want. You've got an allocation, and Opels were good sellers. So he rung up, and just to let you know that offer is definitely finishing July the 31st. It won't be available in August. So if you want to pre-register some vehicles, and we did. We pre-registered some vehicles. And in all fairness, that offer wasn't available in August. The £600 off offer finished July the 31st, just as he said. And on August the 1st, they replaced it with £1,000 off. So all they did was cock the dealers up. That's all they did. They wanted you to register as many cars as you could in July, because that's the easiest month, or it was back then, to fudge statistics. And they wanted to be able to say, at the end of July, oh, we've sold so many cars, you know, well, penetration's increasing and gone up. And our boss, Eric Hamer, he came back from a dealer meeting, and he said he wasn't going to anymore, because all they talked about was percentages and penetration, and not the good kind. So that's it. He stopped going. Does government grants, does that affect the price of vehicles? The government giving the taxpayers money away, does that affect the price of used cars? So one day a car costs you so much, and then the next day you can get £1,500 off it, or £3,750 off it. Now, Opel Mantas. We used to sell more Opel Mantas than virtually everybody else around us, because we loved Opel Mantas. And that's the thing, when you love something, when you're telling somebody about it, it comes through. Your love for the product comes through, and it makes you a better salesman. We used to sell lots of Opel Mantas. I've had loads of Opel Mantas. The best car I've ever had, or my favourite car, I suppose, Opel Manta 1600S. Loved it to bits, still do. And they were redoing the Opel Manta. They were giving it a facelift. Now, not only did they give it a facelift, but they reduced it by 1,700 quid. So we'd got some of the old Opel Mantas in stock, the old shape Opel Mantas, that were now 1,700 quid dearer, and the old shape. So again, you know, they just cock you up. That's the same. Nobody's going to give you 1,700 quid more for an old shape Manta when they can get the new one. Now, that's the same with this grant. But it doesn't just affect cars going forward, it affects all last year's cars. Because if you can get a car now £3,750 cheaper, last year's model is going to have to go down. They didn't have any grants. People were paying full price for, well, discounted price. They didn't have, and then the year before that. So the government taxpayer money giveaway is going to wipe millions and millions of pounds off the price of used EVs. It's going to affect leasing companies even worse, and they've been asking for these discounts. Bearing in mind the leasing companies, they get them basically half price, and it's still not cheap enough because they lose money when they sell them. How bad can it be? How bad can it be when you get something half price, you rent it out to make money, and you come to sell it and you still lose money? These people deal with the BVRLA. They are telling the BVRLA what's happening, and the BVRLA are complicit with Auto Trader and the others of making this fact sheet telling you can save £1,500. Check it out. Come back to me. Tell me where I'm talking rubbish. Don't just say you're talking rubbish. Tell me. Show me where. If I am big enough to hold my hands up. How high do you want them? I was wrong. I'm sorry I got this wrong. I believed it at the time. I got it wrong. This is the truth. I'm big enough. These EV people aren't. These EV people didn't used to do deals like we did in the old days. Have we got a deal, Mr. Customer? Handshake. Deposits. Deposit. No. Different days. Different days. People these days, you can't trust them. So here we go. Let's get back to guy who lives near me and editor at Parker's Co. So where were we up to? Deals aren't permanent. Some of these are tactical cuts to shift stock. Don't assume the same offer will be there in 3 months. Now don't assume it, as I say, because EVs are dropping that much. They're having to discount them that much. I saw an article before that said that each new EV, the manufacturers lose between $5,000 and $10,000 on them when they sell them. That's good business, isn't it? Monthly payments matter more than list prices. A £5,000 discount doesn't help if the finance package isn't competitive. Always check the total cost over the term. So why wouldn't, if you were getting a £5,000 discount off the front, why wouldn't a finance package be competitive? You check the EVs out, most of the manufacturers are doing 0% on EVs, not on ICE cars, on EVs. They're doing 0%. So why wouldn't a £5,000 discount and 0% finance package be competitive? Because the cars, the EVs depreciate more. You can't keep up with them. If an EV is depreciating £500 a month and your payment's £300 a month, then somebody somewhere is going to lose out. And you say, oh, I'll lease my car, you know, I get it on so much. Well, you may have got away with it once, but you won't get away with it again. So if you knock £5,000 off up front, that comes off, and it just makes it depreciate faster. Confidence is key. Falling prices can spook buyers worried about depreciation. No, but it's a good thing. No, it's a good thing. Look, we're seeing EV price cuts across the board as the price war 2025 ramps up. That looks like good news, and it is. Confidence is key. Falling prices can spook buyers worried about depreciation. But that's a good thing. Keith, you've just said it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's cheaper to buy a car that holds its value on finance than it is to buy one that depreciates like a lead balloon. But the real story is this. EVs are finally becoming much more affordable for an increasing number of households. I've been saying this for a while. You've been wrong for a while then. The real winners here are everyday buyers who suddenly find their budget goes further. That's good for all of us, even if there are going to be car maker casualties. Now that's really nice, Keith. That's really nice of you. I've been saying this for a while. The real winners here are everyday buyers who suddenly find their budget goes further. That's good for all of us, even if there are going to be car maker casualties. You mean like the car makers who advertise in your fucking Parker's Guide? Do you mean them? Well, let's hope there's a few magazine casualties, because when these people don't make the money, they won't be able to advertise, will they? And then car magazines. There might be a few car magazine casualties. Well, fucking good. And I hope it's yours. See how you like it. I hope it's yours. What do you think? Do price cuts make you more confident in going electric or more nervous about long-term values? Do drop me a line if you're in the market and your intentions have been influenced since the latest raft of discounts and grants. That was 4 days ago. 16 hours ago. Keith Adams. This is exactly what the UK car market needs right now. A new big player coming in with a serious range of affordable SUVs with prices starting below 25,000 and hybrids in the mix. Chery is clearly aiming to disrupt the mainstream. I've long said that new brands are only as strong as their warranties and after sales. Remember Daewoo? Yeah, it didn't work. Daewoo taking them to Halfords. So a 7-year guarantee and RAC cover is a clever move. If the parts supply through DHL and ensure a tie-up with Thatch and Works as promised, that will go a long way to building buyer confidence quickly. The big question is how established manufacturers will react. If Chery can repeat a Moda and Jayco's strong start, we could see another round of price cuts across the board. And that's only good news for car buyers. Again, it's not. It's not, because all they're trying to do, all these Chinese people, they're undercutting legacy vehicles. They've had a level playing field start, they're undercutting them. Here we go. Silly names aside, this Chinese car maker could be about to disrupt the market. Could be. 16 hours ago, just draw your attention to this one, 3 weeks ago. I'm a fan of the Volkswagen ID7. It's big, unpretentious, and has a massive range. A bit like me then. To see it becoming such a big depreciator on the used market is great news for someone looking for a nearly new family car. Effectively, £20,000 off by waiting 12 months. Bargain. So there you go. Good news, depreciation. If you're an idiot, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.